Good morning, and welcome to Opinions from Mary. This is about our climate change situation, and I believe I'm in a good position to talk about it because I am outraged with what I'm seeing, specifically with gas prices going up, the shortages of everything, our bad supply chain happenings. And now the next issue is for us all to go green. Okay, so what I'm seeing being proposed and implemented is just not going to work. And I am hoping that someone in a position of power actually brings forth some of my ideas to make sure that we do have a nice transition into a better future. First off, let's talk about climate change. And there's two things going on, in my opinion. And not only that, research will confirm this. First off, the world changes naturally. Okay, there's been environmental Mother Earth movement growth, going back millennia. Okay, that's a process called life. Mother Earth is alive, and it is too maturing and growing. And then there's the man-made part of it. Yes, we have done a wonderful job of following the dollars, keeping prices as low as possible. And when we go to our grocery stores, just so you know, okay, what do we usually buy? I anyway, I shop to get the best price for stuff. However, what a lot of people don't realize is businesses, in order to provide that lower price, and this has been going on for decades, which is why my father, who worked for Lever Brothers, who's now departed, God bless his soul, is that company. I don't think they manufacture anything in the United States. It's all been sent offshore because labor is cheaper, because people don't want to pay $25 for a stick of margarine, okay, when they could pay $1. All right, that's the way it is. But in that process, there was no regard, from what I saw, um, on a grand scale, for manufacturing to go out of their way to protect the environment. So I was one of the top 5 project managers in the country for doing environmental cleanup projects throughout the United States. I actually designed the remediation projects and then was responsible for following through and watching the construction happen and the cleanups, and working with the different agencies, the environmental agencies, to make sure that the cleanup was a success. And I loved it because I felt I was doing something worthwhile, and it was an easy job. It had a lot of responsibility, but there was Mother Nature seemed to be a great recipient. Anyway, those programs went away a long time ago. So now what's on the books, yes, they do have to follow environmental laws and stuff, but it's not like what it was in the 70s. And I was an environmental engineer in the mid 80s going into the 90s. That's when it really kicked off. That's when we realized that we had a problem, okay? Because back then it was easier just to take all your chemicals and dump them in the ground, not even realizing that got into the water table and people were consuming, and on and on and on. And the pollution was just so extreme. And it's still extreme in a lot of areas. But the money isn't there to do the remediation. Of course, what also isn't there wasn't the principles, to say, gee, do we go with the being able to maximize our profits, and i.e., be able to sell more to consumer because we could keep our prices down by not having to implement environmental care. And this has been going on for generations. So where are we at now? We have islands of floating garbage. We have air. I still don't understand this chemtrail stuff. And honestly, when the chemtrails are being sprayed, I notice it in what I'm breathing. So I have no idea what's really in those chemtrails, but I do notice that the same flights coming into my airport One day we'll have a trail, and another day there are no trails. And it's the same temperature from one day to the other. So environmentally, you could do the math on that one. But there's something going on more importantly. Right now, there are people in power who are claiming, let's go green. And I'm all for that. I am the founding director of Go Green Coalition, and I sincerely want to see Mother Earth clean, okay? Because we're all part of this. So when we have to breathe dirty air, drink dirty water, eat dirty food, don't think it's not affecting us. The cancer rate being 1 out of 3 today, that's ridiculous. When I was a child growing up, it was rare for someone to have cancer. And now it's like everywhere I turn around, I'm thinking of people in my life that seriously, I only can think of like one couple people, a few people that do not have cancer. Whereas where a lot of people really do seem to have cancer, skin cancer, different types of cancers. Okay, it's just cancer. 1 out of 3 people have cancer. That's scary. And why? Because we are contaminating ourselves. We're contaminating the world. So yes, we should go green. Okay, but we should be healthy about it. Now, all of a sudden, turning off the being able to pull up petrochemicals out of the ground, and that's where our fuel is so high because of the game that they're playing. And I do believe it's a game, is BS. When I was in college in the early 80s and the late 70s into early 80s, I had a tank of a car that got 16 miles to the gallon, and it was a tank. Okay, back then I had the option of getting a car. I bought a used car, but it actually had fins on the back of it, like from the 1950s, because as a student that's what I could afford, and I paid for my own education, took grants to whatever I could. But I came from a not wealthy family, so I put myself through college. But and I needed a car, and I got one, and my father actually helped me make payments on it and found someone who was a reputable dealer in our town and worked out something so that I could get the car that I really wanted. But it was a tank. It was a Ford or a Mercury LTD. It was like the Ford LTD 1977, I believe was the model. And it got 16 miles to the gallon. Had air conditioning, had all that other stuff, okay? A couple of years ago, and I'm recording this in 2022, but I bought a new car in 2009, and I actually had to have it shipped in. It was a Yaris. I did my research. I wanted a fuel efficient vehicle because back then 2008 had hit, and that was a mess, and I didn't want to go through that. I was driving a Porsche Cayenne, and my American Express card would shut off before my tank was even full because it ran on racing fuel. And back then I was paying about $4 a gallon for racing fuel. And it took a big tank. So at $100, American Express said, no way, that's it, you're done. So I would get maybe about half a tank, a little over half a tank to drive my Porsche. Which, by the way, they're designed to run on a higher fuel efficiency than the 97 octane that we had in our pumps, which was why I was putting racing fuel in it, because I figured it was designed for it, enjoy it. Well, I didn't want to go through that again, so I bought a Toyota Yaris. And I remember when I was at the Toyota dealer, saying, just buy a Corolla. And it's like, no, I don't want a Corolla. I want the Yaris. So they actually had to have it shipped in. And it's not like the Yaris is today. It has the console is in the center of the dash. The dashboard is in the center of the console instead of in front of me. But it's fine, okay? And it was getting 30 some miles to the gallon, which was the best, which is why I got it. Well, recently in 2000, well, definitely in 2009. Let's just go there because I was really doing some homework at that time. I went to go see what new cars were running on. And do you know that we're going from 1977 to the year 2009 now? Cars on an average were still getting 16 gallons miles per gallon. And that just freaked me out because in 1977, they were getting 16 miles per gallon. But now they're made out of plastic and aluminum, and not there aren't the tanks that they used to be. So you tell me, who is really responsible for what we have going on in our environment right now? The technology was available back then when I was a child to be able to, which is going to bring me to the conclusion of this. Uh, I know people who literally had inventions for carburetors to get 100 miles to the gallon, and they were bought out so quickly. Okay, and nothing ever happened to the technology. And there's a lot of technology available today to where people can run their cars on water and everything else. But the oil companies or people who were in control of being able to manufacture bought out that technology and just let it sit because it was in their benefit to make cars that still only got 16 miles to the gallon. Okay, here's where I want to fast forward. Right now, we as the human race are the people, the bottom of the pyramid people are the ones who are being subjected to these asinine ideas of like, stop, drilling and, let's change everything under the guise of a green technology. It's crazy. They're making profits like you wouldn't believe. They've always been making profits like you wouldn't believe. And this is where I'm outraged, because they're the people who made their money off of polluting our world. I really feel that they are the ones who should be responsible for giving back some of them. They have the money, okay? Use some of it to clean up our environment. And as far as the food that we're eating and all the pollution that we're consuming, yes, now you know why why a lot of people are sick, and it's sad. So we, as human beings, we have the resources, we have the ingenuity, we have the ideas, and we are quite capable of cleaning up our environment and having a beautiful future. But we can only do that when people that are in power and people that are figuring out where this is going from, on forward, aren't capitalizing on making more mistakes and blaming others while they sit back and they are beneficiaries of just the BS that's coming out of their mouth because they really don't care. If they actually did care, they would be doing something worthwhile about it. And what they're doing right now is only hurting us. So, yes, I do believe that we can have a wonderful future. But I also feel that those that are in charge be responsible for those who created the messes that we're in, and start to implement technologies, which they are available, so that we do have a clean environment. We do have clean air. We do have clean water. And right now, things are very, very messed up, but not that we can't correct that. Okay? So I felt it was important to leave that. Please write your congressman, write whoever you can, and get involved and pass this on. Do know that the human race is quite capable of correcting these problems, provided that the people that are in the positions to force these changes to happen, and that's what they're doing, force the proper changes, not the changes that they're going to make more money off of. This is crazy. I'm fed up with it. I am just fed up with it. Okay. So, bottom line is, I don't have a problem with people making money. Obviously, that's the way our system is set up. But I do have a problem with liars. And I never want to see that. And right now, I really believe I'm so sick of being lied to about this is happening because. And I think we're all on the same page. So thank you for watching. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. And feel free to comment below if you have any ideas that you think would help. If there's something that I can do to make sure that we usher in a great future, I will do whatever I can. Thank you and God bless. Bye.